Hello and welcome to this particular video where we are going to talk about this model pyramid that I made for you. This pyramid topic is going to be how to make your 90 minutes most efficient, effective and fun. And if you see, it has to any session you're doing, any webinar you're doing, any masterclass, WhatsApp, whatever you're doing, not WhatsApp, like webinar, masterclass or workshop. Whenever you're doing that, it has to have this model like E.E.F. efficient, effective and fun. People come to you to learn something. People come to you to get educated. People come with their problems and are attending probably for a reason that you are going to solve their problem, help them out with something, give them solutions, give them a framework, strategy, so that whenever they Google stuff, and instead of Googling, now they're attending your session, your class, whatever that is. Now, whenever they come and attend your session, you have to break it down into these 5 things that we're going to talk about. 5 ways of how can you make those 90 minutes, which is specifically 90 minutes, where you can hold their attention. Now, we don't even have to talk about the retention part of it, because now when you get their attention, that is, in other words, connection with them. Now, when you build the bond with them, they stay till the end. Now, there are a lot of elements behind the scenes that you also need to work on, that we're going to talk about over here. In this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways on how can you grasp their attention and hold them in a 90 minutes of session. Now, the first point that we're going to talk about over here is 3 to 5. Now, what is 3 to 5? Never exceed a topic that we're going to talk about more than 3 to 5 points. 3 to 5 bullet points. Now, there can be subcategories to point number 1, 2 or 3, which is completely cool, but never go beyond. Probably you shouldn't, it's not recommended. You can go test it out for yourself, for your industry, for your domain, but it's just kind of advisable and recommended way that you stick to 3 macro topics. And you can have 3 points to that, 3 points to that, maybe 2 to 3 points to the B part of it. Now, when you stick to 3 to 4 points, they remember the stuff. If you go more than 5, more than 7, more than 10 points, what generally happens is they might remember point number 9 or 10, point number 5 or 6. They'll forget the first point, the second point, and the whole intention that we do is we don't want them to forget stuff. We want them, how can this idea can be executed in this part. So that's what we do in general, in large scale. So how can we minimize what we're doing, whatever we are speaking, but make it so crisp that it lands when you're talking to them? Now, that's point number 1. The point number 2 that we're going to talk about is fluff. Now, if you just remember this particular word is like fluff, like eliminating all the things that is not required. Now, how do you eliminate all the things that's not required is laser focusing on a specific given topic. Now, when you're going to talk about, okay, now I am going to teach you how to make your signature great. Cool. Step number 1, step number 2, step number 3. Done. How do you learn a great signature in next 10 minutes? Step number 1, step number 2, step number 3. Done. When you bring everything into steps, it becomes very laser focused and you're not beating around the bush. You're just talking about that specific topic. And the next thing that we're going to talk about will be, once you're talking about the product or services or specific content piece, the third angle is stories. Now, whenever you're eliminating fluff, that's not required. It's like you're just taking off the foam off the cups. Like, okay, this is the drink that you drink. This is the tea that you drink. There's no. In Hindi we call it cuff. I don't know what we call. I think it's foam when we speak about it in English. We kind of take all that off. It's like, okay, what happens when you put Pepsi or Coca-Cola? It's like, when you take that whole the foam off, you have this will be part of it. So what we're going to talk about is like this part. The solid content is this. Now, related to this, whatever story comes to your mind, you talk about that. That's the third part of it. So like delivering a content with a story. It can be an inspirational story, it can be a struggling story, it can be a challenging story, it can be a funny story, it can be a weird story, any story. Stories, it can be your stories, it can be your friend's story, it can be a relative story, but when it can be a movie story, it can be a dialogue from a movie, it can be a small little scene from a song. like a 3 minute song has got so many elements to that. You can just pick like one part of it that can inspire you in that much, like you just grasp that out, blend in with your content, boom. When you do this, it helps people to understand and convey a message that you're going to say. It smooths the process. The fourth one is analogies. Like, I think the best way to explain you this one point is like a pyramid. Now whenever you look at a pyramid from this moment on, probably you will remember this particular part of it, or probably some other part of it, or probably the 5-stage pyramid for marketing, for filling the gaps, something like that we talk about. Now this is an analogy. For example, if you want to talk about 3 things, so probably the easiest way of doing it is a triangle, or you can have a circle, small little circle. Now, when you're deriving concepts through shapes and objects and analogies, or you're just, okay, how can this pen relate to what I'm saying now? How can this relate to what I'm saying? And whenever you bring in these concepts in delivering content, it will be efficient, effective, and fun. In my special sessions, that probably you've attended a few sessions that I've done back in the day. Now, one thing that I do all the time is like I make people draw a man. It's like, how do you draw a man? Very simple. Like, finish. A man is drawn. When you draw this part of it, it helps you. First, as a speaker, you have fun delivering the content. Then it becomes very efficient and effective. Now, that's the whole goal of you delivering something. You are running a 90-minute session. It's like everything has to be crisp, and also you should be able to communicate in a way that helps them understand what you're saying. That's the 4th point. The 5th point is keeping everything very simple. Very simple. When you talk about simple, 8-year-old, 80-year-old, 8-year-old, 80-year-old. How can I explain purpose of a life to an 8-year-old, to an 80-year-old? Now, one of the greatest challenges that you'll face when it comes to an 8-year-old is they haven't seen life, they haven't experienced anything. Now, when you go and talk to them about a purpose or something, you have to actually go and feel the things that they feel, do the things that they do, and make them kind of try and use those examples of small toys or color pencils or something like that, so that it lands in them. The challenging part. Once you are successful in doing that, you are very successful already in conducting a webinar. 90 minutes, efficient, effective, and a fun webinar. Second part, when you are focusing on an 80-year-old, now the challenge that you're going to face when you are having conversation with an 80-year-old is the challenge that I have been facing whenever I go and have a conversation with an 80-year-old. One challenge, they have got their belief systems, ideologies, value system, the content, the things, the principles that they have been following, the ideas that they are very strong rooted. And for example, one challenge that even till today I face, like when they ask me further what you're doing, one challenge that I face, like I'm into online business, and it's like, what's an online business? One challenge I faced is way back when I started off this journey. I probably have answers to reply to those questions now, but when I started off back then, one of my close uncles that came in, they asked like, Fadal, what do you do? I was like, I am into digital marketing. And the second question that he asked was, do you see that shop? They print digitally. Do you do that? I was like, not even close. I'm into digital marketing. That's digital advertisements. He said, that's what they're also doing. I was like, no, there's a huge difference. That's like one challenge. That's like when they have something in their mind, you have something in your mind. How can you walk your way and communicate and get to that common ground and explain them that no, I'm not into digital marketing. Now what I actually do is have an online school. I used to say I have an online community. Now when I say an online community, this is like, what do you mean a community? I was like, okay, The best way to explain anyone of that sort of an age where they have deep rooted roots, online school. How do you do that? Zoom calls. What do you do? Teach business. What business strategies? Frameworks from 0 to 50,000, then 50. Like, how do you do that? Like, make a website. This is, the more you practice it, the more you vocalize it, the efficient you're going to get in communicating with that category and this category, an 8-year-old and 80-year-old. Now, once you master that one skill, I think after watching this particular video, you just go and do this exercise. Like, whatever you're doing, how can I communicate that with an 8-year-old and 80-year-old? Probably if you have someone that in your family, just go out there and test whatever you're doing. It's like, how can I make this particular subject communicatable to these two categories? And once you do that, once you're able to make them understand, to be very honest, when you are running out on and doing webinars, workshops, masterclasses, you are going to be very fluent in making them understand what you're trying to say. That being said, thank you so much for watching this particular video, and see you in another video.